Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So I've made you the host. So I'm trying to share my screen now.
Okay.
Give me a few minutes, please. I'm trying to see where I have my file. Okay, can you see the screen? Hello, Dorothy. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, what's up? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, fine, fine. Someone can hear me. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday we were supposed to have this class, so uh, our sincere apologies for not being able to do that. So today we are going to look at the conclusive aspects of the Zenox case study, which is on the three-statement financial model and forecasting financial statements. All right. So actually today I sent you this file. I sent this file to the financial modeling group, the one on Telegram. So if you have the time, try as much as possible to download it. The file is a fully worked on file for each of the cases we have, and it also includes scenario sensitivity analysis. So for the scenario analysis, we'll take a look at that when we resume the class back, because this class is going to divide as we're going to subdivide this class into two. So also in the second half of this class, we will look at we'll introduce ourselves to valuation modeling. So all right, so if you can see the screen, let's quickly, can someone see hear me? So let's quickly proceed from where we stopped from in the last class. So where we stopped from in the last class was that we were able to look at ratio analysis. So we were able to look at ratio. We were able to look at ratio analysis. So in our ratio analysis, we saw how changing. Can someone hear me? Hello, can someone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So in our ratio analysis, we took a look at how changing the forecasting factor, the impact of the forecasting factor on our ratio. So in doing that, we actually started from looking at the common size statement, and the common size statement acted as an input to, so you can, if you can see this file, the way I've arranged the file, if you still have the question with you, that would be great. The way the way the file is arranged, you can see from M1 up to M9, M10 plus SA plus MA plus M11. So it's actually arranged to show the different questions each of those questions. So I'm going to show the treatment of each of the questions the way we have it in the material that I asked you to print out, except for the fact that for M11, we've not actually touched that. So we'll take a look at that in the second part of this lecture. But what we just basically want to look at today is how do we perform sensitivity and analysis on financial statement, and that is very important. All right, so that's the arrangement: M1, M2, M3, M4, M5. So I've made this simple so that you can follow up with each of the questions. So basically where we stopped the last class was in M3. So in M3, what we did was to change the forecasting factor. If you can see these ones in yellow, we changed the forecasting factor. So by changing the forecasting factor, we now examine the effect on our ratios. If you can remember, so these are the ratios. And how do we do the comparison of those ratios? So what we simply do is that we repeat for M2. M2 is before, M2 is the common size, rather. M1 is the historical statement. Okay, so basically how we do the ratio is that we repeat the ratio analysis, is that we repeat the ratio, okay, the ratio that we arrived at before changing the forecasting factor. So let's assume these are the ratios we arrived at, okay. These are the ratios we arrived at before changing the forecasting factor. I just want to explain this to you because I believe some of you may not get that in the last class. So these are the ratios we arrived at before changing these forecasting factors here. And these are the effects of changing the forecasting factor. For you to know the net effect of those changes, we come to this yellow. So this is where we took a look at the net effect of those changes. You can see we are taking the difference between G125 and K125. And that's what is giving us this value we are having here. So basically, that's how you do your ratio analysis. So change the forecasting factor, look at the effects on your ratios, then do a moving difference between what it was before you change it and what it is now. Then based on that, you can now say, okay, if the forecasting factor is changed by X percentage, this is the effect it's going to have on your ratio analysis. So basically, that's what we dealt with in M3. That's model 3. Now for model 4, basically what we have in model 4, if we examine the balance sheet. Can someone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so if we examine the balance sheet in model 4, we can see that the balance sheet is not balanced. And I have explained that when you are doing your forecasts, when you are making forecasts, okay, now it's almost certain that the balance sheet will not balance. But you cannot present an unbalanced balance sheet to the management. Balance sheet must always balance, whether it's historical or you are making a forecast. Now, in practice, how do we make sure the balance sheet is balanced? We introduce what we call discretionary funding needed. All right. So this discretionary funding needed is used to balance up the balance sheet. And I explained to you that the variable you have to choose here is a variable that management have discretionary control over. So it is that variable you will now use to balance up the balance sheet. And in this case, we have made use of the short-term debt. All right. So by using the short-term debt as a balancing factor, we can be able to arrive at a balanced balance sheet. So we can see that all this one that is here is true, while this one is false, meaning that it's not balanced. If it is false, it means it's not balanced. Okay. All right. So now our objective here now is to balance up the balance sheet. All right. Ideally, what I would have done if I had not created M6 is to copy M4 and put it in M6. So if you look at the question now, if we go back to the question, we were told in the question, all right, let me see. In the question, all right, we were told in question 5, all right, that the model above indicated the balance sheet of Zenox PLC is out of balance, and there is a need for discretionary financing. You have to modify the model so that it will automatically balance. It will automatically balance the balance sheet by adjusting short-term debt, all right, which is the discretionary funding needed. That's our DFN. Okay, so What it means is that we are using the short-term debt as, we are using the short-term debt as our plug, while all other assumptions remains the same. So how do we perform this simple situation? It's very simple, all right? So what we will basically do is, I have this scenario already. So what I will do is, I can take this out. So you can see that the balance sheet is already balanced here. It's already balanced because here we are having 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But how do we do that? It's quite straightforward. So if we take this out, all right. So basically what we want to see is, it's just a repetition of M4. There is no special stuff there. So we want to balance up this balance sheet. All right. So here we will have, all right. So what we want to do now is, we want to balance up this balance sheet. Okay. So we're going to make use of our assets. All right. Our asset will be the first thing. Then we say minus. Okay. Now we sum up all the liabilities and equity, except, of course, except short-term debt, because the short-term debt that we are actually looking for, as okay. So the short-term debt that we want to balance up. So if we sum up all this, all right, okay. So you can have something like this here. You can have something like this here. Okay. So you sum up all this, then you say plus. Now let's take our accounts payable plus our other current liabilities plus our total shareholders equity, which is this plus this, right? So if we take that and we click on, all right, so I'm closing the bracket now and I press enter. All right, so we have this. Okay, so I can extend this like this. All right, so that's exactly how we balance up the balance sheet. So what I've simply done here is very simple. I'll do it again. I'm taking off all this, assuming that we are starting from M4, because if you take a look at M4, M4 has an unbalanced balance sheet. All right, and I told you that when you are making your forecast, your balance sheet must balance. And how do you make your balance sheet to balance? You look for a discretionary number. Discretionary number in the sense that management must be able to have control over that number. Management can have control over short-term debt because they can say, okay, this is the level of debt, of short-term debt we want to, this is the level of short-term debt obligation we want to be exposed to. So that is, it is discretionary by management. Management can choose to borrow more or borrow less. But if management has sold the product, if management has bought, if the company has bought some product from supplier, management cannot decide to say, okay, this is what we have to pay the supplier, or this is what we should not pay. Management must actually pay what is expected. So what we are just saying is that it should be something that management should have extreme control over. You understand? So not the other way around. All right. So here I'm going to repeat what I have done. Okay. So I said here we are going to repeat what we have done, just for clarity's sake, because this is quite straightforward. So minus sum. All right, minus sum. So the sum of all these, all right, we close it, plus, sorry. So we have to put a bracket here. All right, plus this, plus this, then plus this. Then we close it. All right, then we press enter. So that's what we have. So you can see that immediately I do that, everything here is telling me it is true. Everything here is telling me 0. Okay. So that's how we do that. So with that, we have taken care of that particular question. All right. Now, if you look at question, can someone hear me? Now, if we okay, now if we examine further and go to 7, we observe something in 7. All right. Now we get to question 6. which has to do with changing forecasting factor. Now we observe that in this model, we are having short-term debt to be negative. All right. Now this does not actually make sense because short-term debt cannot be in negative. All right. Short-term debt cannot be in negative. It should be in positive. All right. Because actually what this means is that we are paying off more than we are owing for short-term debt, which is ideally not possible. Okay. So if you take a look at it historically, short-term debt is positive. All right. And if you also take a look at it historically, you will see that looking at our cash balance is always less than our short-term debt. All right. But we cannot have this situation. We cannot have a situation where short-term debt can be negative. All right. So what are we going to do to take this out? Now, if you will look at it, look at model 6. Model 7. For model 7, you observe that we're able to take out our short-term debt and we still have our balance sheet balance. So in this now, okay, I'm going to explain this formula to you. You need to understand how this is arrived at. Okay. Now there is something that is called max and min, a function that is called max and min. If I have 0 here, I need to explain something, and I have 10 here. Now I need to get the max between 0 and 10. All right. I want to get the max between 0 and 10. It's just for me to say max. We can actually get the max by just looking at it, but there's a reason why I need to show you this. Okay. All right, fine. This is returning 10 because the max between 0 and 10 is 10. All right. So we want to apply the same formula here, but this time around this is a bit complicated. So I'll advise that you listen. So what we want to do here is very simple. Okay. So we want to say, let us take a look at our short-term debts. Okay, and assume that we don't have cash and cash equivalents. Okay, like let's assume we are excluding cash and cash equivalents. Now we want to balance our balance sheet by looking at the difference between all the assets that we have and all the liabilities and equity except short-term debts. I don't know if someone understands this. Now, if you take a look at that difference, then we will now find, okay, between this difference and 0, because anything that is negative is less than 0. Of course, 0 is more than a negative number. So we'll now say that between what the figure we're going to arrive at and 0, Excel should return the maximum figure. So whatever value that is given negative, Excel will replace it with 0. So that is what it means. Excel will replace it with 0. So it means that rather than us having a short-term debt that is negative, okay, what it means in practice is that we've definitely paid off all our short-term debt, and the excess cash that is being generated is added to cash and cash equivalents. Can someone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So, yeah, is there any question? Do you understand?
No, but I think you should simplify it for us again.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is this. Here in M6, we have negative short-term debt. All this is negative short-term debt. And what I'm saying here is that we cannot have negative short-term debt. It's not possible for us to have negative short-term debt. It must be possible. What this one means is that we have paid our short-term debt, and we are even paying more than what we are supposed to pay using our cash. It's not possible, right?
Okay.
So what I'm now saying is that we want to take out this negative short-term debt. And if we have paid out all our short-term debt, there's no reason why we should have negative short-term debt. We should have 0, isn't it?
Yes.
Now that is what it means. So if we now have 0, any excess cash that we have generated should be added to our cash and cash equivalents. Do you get now? So that's what I have just explained there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that coming to model 6, all right, we have included the formula. I need to explain this formula to you so that you will understand. If I make this to be inactive by having this, okay, so this is, let me expand this. So this will be quite clear to you now. Now, look at all the cells we have here. I told you that if we have a situation of max, max is used to return in a range of cell. Max is used to return the highest number. Okay, so in this case now, I want to take a look at the highest number between the difference between short-term debt and every other item in the balance sheet and zero. Meaning that if I include this formula, okay, if Excel is returning negative, Excel will replace that negative with zero because zero is more than a negative number. I don't know if that is understood now. All right, so what we will simply do,
Yes, sir.
we now want to apply. So the formula is, if you take a look at short-term debt now, let's say we have P, all right? Now, P is going to represent our short-term debt. And how do we calculate our short-term debt? We know that our short-term debt is our all our assets, that's our assets minus equity and liabilities, okay, to arrive at the short-term debt. And we also have all our assets as well, excluding the cash and cash equivalents. Okay, so if I check on this now, hold on please. So if I check on this, now you see what we have here. So this is what we have here. So this is, hold on. Now let's take this out. Hold on. Sorry, I've made this active, inactive by putting this. All right, so let me take this out. So what we do here is, but is it understood?
Oh.
Hello, can someone respond?
Please come over. Please come over.
From where? From where?
Yes, what you are just explaining. Just start all over again. Just what you are explaining.
Okay, okay. Is it from model 6? Do you understand it from this point?
Sincerely, I don't want to drag you back. I just joined the class, but I want you to start from where you are where I met you, so that I will not drag the whole class back. Just continue, sir.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please, can you just explain that the negative in the short-term fund that you are trying to explain, make it more clearer. Make it clearer, please.
Okay. So listen now, what I'm explaining is simple, quite straightforward. Now, what I'm trying to say is that we cannot have negative short-term debt. If you are doing your projections and you want to make a figure you want to use a figure as a balancing figure, right? What it means is you want to adjust that figure to balance the balance sheet. And adjusting that figure can give you negative or can give you positive. Is that understood? Is that aspect clear?
Yes.
So if that aspect is clear, that's number one. Now, we have been able to do that by using this formula. Now, let me highlight, let me make this white so that you see it clearly. So we have been able to arrive at that by using this formula. So if you look at this formula now, this formula is a balancing figure because it is taking the assets. Of course, for you to get what is left here, you take the asset first of all. Now, subtract all the, from the long-term debt to other non-current liability, take out everything, all right? Do you get? Now, add H55, which is account payable, add this one, then add H67, which is the total equity and liability. So whatever is left is a balancing figure. And it is this balancing figure that makes our balance sheet to balance. Because I told you that the balance sheet must always balance. Is that understood?
Yes.
Yes. Then I now say, now, you cannot have negative short-term debt. It's not possible for you to have negative short-term debt. Okay? Reason is that if you're having a negative short-term, because the thing is that if you have paid all your short-term debt, okay, it should be zero, isn't it?
Yeah.
It should be zero, right? You should not have any short-term debt if you have paid everything.
Yes.
Now, whatever that is above what you have paid, is negative, and that's what is giving this negative number. Do you understand? Meaning you cannot pay more than what you are
Yes.
owing as short-term debt. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. Now, and I went further to say, okay, now if rather than us having a short-term debt here, okay, what we should have is zero, because if we have paid all our short-term debt, we should have a zero balance. Is that understood?
Yes.
So that is when we now move to this. And I said, okay, here, this is the formula you have to apply. Now, the formula you have to apply is straightforward, because in this formula, we assume that, okay, we want to take out all our, what is it called now? We want to first of all, ignore cash and cash equivalents, okay? Now, let's take a look at the marks between everything that we have that makes up our short-term, our liabilities, excluding short-term debt, and everything that we have that makes up our liability, excluding our assets, excluding cash and cash equivalents. Do you get now?
Okay.
So we'll now take a look at that, and we'll find
Yes.
out the difference between that and zero. Is that taken now?
Yes.
All right. So, and I said the function that you use to return a number that is greater than any other number is the max function. For instance, if you have 0 and 1, the max of 0 and 1 is 1. If you have 0 and minus 1, the max of 0 and minus 1 is 0. You get now? So that is when we now introduce this formula. Now in the formula now, we will say our max, then we introduce the sum. All right, so now the sum now we want to take a look at now is, first of all, for the liabilities and equity side. All right, this question is actually very advanced. I think that's why we are finding it a bit, it's quite of technical in a bit. So here, now we want to take a look at for the liabilities and equity side, okay, excluding short-term debt. All right, so what we'll simply do here is we have our sum, our total assets, which is this one. Are you getting it now? Then minus, no, sorry, please. We have our total assets, which is this, minus sum. Okay, so if we have the sum now, so we are not taking short-term debt into consideration, right? So if we take a look at all this, okay, now plus this, okay, then plus, okay, so we have this, right?